Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started and see where we're at. Okay, and zoom for just a second and make sure that I've got some sound here. Make sure, yeah, I'm good, and I've got the video down, so we're ready to go. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to share the screen. There we go. Now we're all set up and ready to go. Okay, everybody. This is, of course, BISS 1123 and Section A. And we've got Class A. This is week number 2. And I think I've got a couple of people who came in. But as you recall, I will be recording this. And so we should be in good shape here. Now, as people come through, or as you log on, don't worry about it. For all intents and purposes, you are in good shape. And we'll go from there. So that being said, today we're going to work on case number 7. All right. And this is the hardware nuts case. So I'll scroll down here, and before we talk about the case, we'll do a little bit of a little bit of bookkeeping or kind of a housekeeping here. This is week 2, and class sessions on Monday and Wednesday. Pardon me, on Tuesday and Thursday. And this is Thursday the 15th. All right. Now, you have 2 items that are due. First of all is XLS3. Okay, then that's due on today, on the 15th. And that's Guardian Roofing Payroll. We did that in class, and you should have uploaded the file at that time. Or if you watched the video, found the file. It's over there in the files section. I believe I uploaded it as well. And that's due. Then Few text chapter 2 through 4. That's the Stephen Few text. And that's basically that that is over the Stephen Few textbook. Show me the numbers. And so you have that quiz that's due as well. Okay, and I've given you some resources last week to help out with the financial ratios quiz. And so if you come in or you get in a little bit late, don't worry about it. You can always jump back to the start here. I started about 5 minutes earlier, so we're in good shape. And now, what we've got coming up next week, case number 4, that was Dabney Financial. We've already done that, so you should have uploaded it. And then case number 5 was the town of Clintwood, where we worked with that budget and did some extrapolation of those budget figures projected out a couple of years. And then I have some resources here that talk about budgeting versus forecasting versus projection versus a pro forma, those things, debt versus deficit, things that are related to government budgeting. And so but we were also working with really a fairly typical budget that you'd see for a city, but also also in some other format, a budget you might see for a project out in the private sector. Then we worked on case number 6, and that one's due to case number 6. There's 4, there's 5. Let's see if I can find 6. 6 is due on the 1st of March, and that one was we did Badger Jams, where we looked at that company, and we developed a break-even analysis. We did a break-even analysis in the table and then a chart. And so you should have uploaded that as well. As I've said before, I'll repeat it again. I'm working ahead on the Excel file, Excel cases. So when we hit access, if we have to slow down, we will. And then of course you've got these other things that are coming up. And these exam one and all that business, I'll spend some time on it when we come to that point. Now, we're going to work on case number 7 today. So the first thing I want to do is let's go over to the files section in Canvas. And you ought to have your textbook. Textbooks starts the case for this case on hardware nuts starts on page 67. And this is about developing an inventory control system. And the key thing that we're going to learn in here, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to use some conditional statements, and we're also going to learn about the economic order quantity. And the EOQ, economic order quantity, is a model or a tool that we use to try to balance two things. One, the amount of inventory that I keep on hand, okay, versus the amount of inventory that I should order. And the whole point is we're trying to strike that balance between the risk of being out of inventory versus the risk that we get when we have inventory or we have too much. And so that's the business problem that we're working with today. And we'll do, and like I said, we're going to do a little bit of work with some conditional formatting. We'll do a bit of work with some conditional statements. Now, over on page 67, they start in the Solve It 6.0 textbook. They talk about hardware nuts in the case, and they wholesale small hardware items. And then they give us our protagonist, and this time it's Tim Kukura, who's the general manager, and they want to get an inventory control system. And there at the bottom of page 67, he talks about a reorder level system and using the economic order quantity model as a tool to determine how much to order. So that's over there on page 67. Then over in the top of 68, the authors give us some more and talk about the trade-offs that we make when we have inventory. And then there in the middle of page 68, we get the EOQ formula, which is the square root of 2 times the fixed cost of ordering the item. Okay, that's the F. The U, the amount of the product needed each year. That's divided by the item's carrying cost expressed as a percentage of the inventory value times the item's unit cost. Now you'll notice something, okay? What you see at the top of that equation, the numerator is fixed costs, okay? And then in the denominator, excuse me, and that is the bottom of that fraction, you see a carrying cost expressed as a percent of inventory value. So it kind of implies a variable cost it implies a variable cost or kind of mimics it. But that's the reorder point using what we would call a classic EOQ model, okay? And so we're going to do a little work here. Now, the first thing, we're over here in files, okay? And we want to come down to the Solve It 6.0, those solution files. And let's download the zip file. We'll open it up, okay? And we always do that. I want the student files. I have to get that fixed right there. Okay, here we are. Now we're going to come down here. We're working on hardware nuts, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and you'll see the list of of things. Okay, and now I'm going to save this to my desktop. Okay, as I've said it before, if I don't save this to my desktop, i.e. the native environment of my device, okay, and desktop's going to be the easiest place to find it. This is going to be a kind of system file that becomes impossible to work with. So I've got this hardware nuts _Q, and I'll put in Harmon, and I'll make sure I'm on the desktop, and I'm going to save it. Okay, then I'm going to close that file, and I can close up that zip file, and I'm going to go down to my desktop, and I'm going to find hardware nuts, okay, and open it up. Okay, And so we're going to go from there. All right. I've got all kinds of crazy things going on today with the Zoom. I am recording this, so if something happens, and why it's not going to let me resume that share, I don't know. Let me downplay this for just a minute. I'll come back up here. And I want to resume the share. Okay. And all righty. I'll just put this out here. All right, there we go. I'm sorry about that, guys. I had some weirdness with this thing today. Anyway, we've got we're going to go down. We've got that file there. So I'm going to diminish everything down and go back to my desktop. Okay. Oh, why is it doing this to me? Okay. This is just strange. I've not encountered this kind of weirdness before. All righty. I'm going to open up Hardware Nuts. Okay. And I'll resume the share. Boy, I'm getting it today. All right. Let's see this for a minute. And let me see what I can do here for just a second. I'm going to go back down to the solution files. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to close that window, see what we got going on. Okay, I'm still sharing it. I guess I'm going to have to do a new share every time. I'm sorry about that. Let me go back over here and get the file loaded again. I'll do this. All right. That is weird. I'm having all kinds of trouble here with this. All right. All right. Well, let me start the share again. Well, that's no good. And let me just throw this down here. And we'll see if we're getting someone seeing something there. Yeah, let me see if I can get this back up. Press share screen. And what do I want to do? I want the desktop. Okay, we're back at the desktop. So let me see if I can get my this file to open up, and I'm on the solution files, and then we'll hopefully do some work with it. Oh, whoop, I want the student files. This is one of those days where I've had these kinds of issues. All righty. Now I'm going to come down here to Hardware Nuts, and I'll open it up. All right. I apologize about that, everybody, and make sure we're still recording. Okay, good. Now, we're going to have to do some work with this, and let's talk about for a moment. Of course, we have the title area of the spreadsheet. Then we have the documentation. That's all this information here. And then we get the base, what I call the skeleton file, and that's going to be the product number, package description, how much I have on hand, how much I've ordered, annual usage, and the order point, okay? So I've got that. There are some other columns that I need to add, and as usual, once we've seen this idea or this notion of the economic order quantity, okay, what we get then are the series of tasks that start at the bottom of page 68 and go through page 69. And so I want to add some more columns, and this first one, go over here in column H, I'm going to put BAL available, meaning the balance available, okay? And then I want, and then I'm then in, and I'll put that into H9. Then in I9, I'm going to put need to reorder. Okay. Oh, I can't spell. I can't do anything today. And we'll do that. Now, the balance available needs to be formatted. So I'm going to click on cell G9 and then click copy, format painter, boom, and there we are. And we had the balance available, the need to reorder, and then we need a third one, reorder quantity. Okay. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and take these cells right here, and I'm going to make them a little bit larger because I'm an old person and I don't see as well. And as long as I don't fall and not get up, I'm okay. All righty, now we'll pull this over, and get the balance available. All right, now what we're going to do is use the EOQ model to figure out how much we want to reorder, the quantity, okay? And then we first of all need to find out how much we have available, okay? Now, we're gonna work a little bit with, we're gonna create some assumptions there, okay? And let's come up here to cell G4, and we're gonna put fixed costs of ordering. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move that G out, and then that fixed cost of ordering, I'll make it bold, and I'll make it a little bit larger font, like a 12. Okay, and then in H3, pardon me, H4, which is where I'm at, I'm going to put 115. Okay. Now, what that tells us is that every time the company places an order, it costs them $115. Ordering costs typically are fixed. Somebody has to do some paperwork. They fill the thing out. It might go to someone else for their signature, that type of thing. But we assume that ordering is a fixed cost. And so this is starting to suspiciously sound like a total cost kind of idea, and it is. Whether I order 1 unit or a million, it's $115 of time and effort, paperwork, whatever, to get that accomplished in this company. Now, I come down to also what kind of mimics a variable cost, and that's the fixed, and that's the item carrying costs. Percent. Okay. And so we'll click on fixed cost of ordering. I'll do copy, format painter, and then go to G5, and that's going to be 0.25. Now, let's talk about this for just a moment. What do we mean by carrying cost? Carrying cost, first of all, it's a variable cost because the carrying cost is going to vary according to how much inventory we have available, okay? If I have a whole bunch of inventory that takes up more space, I have to keep it. I've got to keep it secure. That also means the more of the stuff I have on hand, the greater the chances I have something that's defective, that doesn't work. And so the item carrying cost is a variable cost. And in this sense, we're saying it's equal to 25%, okay, of the unit cost per item, okay? Well, the more expensive an item, the higher the carrying cost. Now, let's take, I don't know, your local McDonald's, all right? In terms of their inventory, the value of it, I guess if you took out 50 things of buns, you might have $25 worth of items. But if you're Hellsberg Jeweler, for example, or your Shane Company, or your K Jewelers, carrying a lot of inventory is not good, because one piece can walk out the door and blow away all the profit you made over the week. Okay, so jewelers are very, retail jewelers are very cautious about the inventory they have, and they really don't want to have too much. They prefer to sell you a set that's there and then tailor it to your needs. Okay, now, so we have these two, and we're trying to balance off, make sure I don't have too much I don't have too much inventory around, but I have enough that I never run out. Okay, and that's the problem that we're trying to deal with. A classic business problem, if there ever was one. Now I'm going to put my cursor on cell H4 and H5, and I'm going to go ahead and bold those so they look pretty. So that's my assumptions area, and I'm going to come and I'm going to go from G4 over to H5, and I'm going to put a fill in there. And I think I'll put something like that. That's not too bad. Okay. Now, as you've heard me mention, databases are designed to do one thing. Spreadsheets are designed to do another. And so when we look at this case, we're kind of doing both. We're using this spreadsheet, and it looks a lot like a table that I would see in a database. But we're also going to use it. It would do some computational work, or use Boolean. We're going to use some computational work and Boolean logic to get the information we want from the data that's over here. Okay, and let's start with the balance available. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use our friend the name manager. So let's click on formulas. Okay, and there at the top where it says define name, click define name. And you'll see that fixed cost of ordering dialog box. Okay, now what it refers to. And then we're going to do the same thing with the, we're going to define the name for the item carrying cost %. Okay, so when we use them, if we need to use them in an equation, we can do so easily. All right, let's start over here with the balance available, and that's going to be on, in cell H11. Again, we've got, I'm moving from the columns left to right. We've got the product and information about it, package, how much on hand, have we ordered any, what's the unit cost, what's the annual usage, what's the order point. Now I want to do something here for just a minute with these figures, and anywhere where there are numbers, let's go ahead and center them. So go back to the home and let's center those, because it's just going to look better if they are. I'm going to do the same thing with the order. Okay, the unit cost stuff is okay. Let me go ahead and make those so they stand out a little bit better. We'll come here. Let's put that. Okay. Now we're going to start with the balance available. Okay. And you say, okay, now where are you getting this fixed cost, the percentage and all that? This is from the case. Okay. And they give us that information there in the case, which is why you always need to have the book with you so you can see where I'm getting some of these numbers and why we're doing these things. Now, granted, I'm not going to go through tests 1 through 4 just in order, for the simple reason that some of that stuff, well, we'll skip some steps, we'll get some things done, so we'll just walk through it. We need to get the balance available, and the balance available is simple. It's going to equal, okay, the amount that we have on hand. Now, and notice I've got C11. I'm going to put a $ in front of the C so that Excel knows I'm going to work with a column of figures, and it's going to be C11 plus, and this is what's on hand, on order, excuse me, and I'll put a dollar sign in front of the D. So I have, now, just so you can see it, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put it on a notepad. Now, when we start working with the conditional statements, we'll be doing that for sure. So it's C11 plus D11. C11 is what we have on hand, okay? And D11 is what's on order. And I have a dollar sign in front of the C and a dollar sign in front of the D, indicating I'm going to work with this column, okay? So I'm going to click that, get the result, and that tells me how much I have available. And now, since I've done the cell referencing, it's simple. I just go ahead and drag and drop all the way down. It gives me the figures. If I want to check them, okay, I can do so, and we're good. Okay. Now, the next issue that comes up with is the question: do we need to reorder? In fact, let me do this on the need to reorder. Let's add a question mark, so it's no doubt that we're asking ourselves, do we need to reorder? And there we go. Now, we're going to do a conditional statement here, and I'm going to pull up the notepad. This is how I do it, so that I can work, okay, and then just paste it into the cell, and I can see what I'm working with and all that basis. So the first thing is the need to reorder is, okay, if the balance available is less than the order point, I need to reorder. So this is going to equal if, and then I put a parenthesis, and that would be, I'm going to start with row 11. If H11, I put a dollar sign, okay, is less than G11, I put a dollar sign, dollar sign in front of G11, okay? So I'm saying if the balance available, that's what's in H11, is less than the order point, which is what is in G11, okay? Then I put a comma, I'll put yes, and then another comma, and I'll put no, and then close it off with a parenthesis. So what we're saying here is if H11, that's the balance available, is less than the order point, G11, then I'll get yes. If it's not, then the default is no. Now let's see if I did a decent job with this. I'll pull this back over a little bit. I think we're going to be okay. Control C, copy that. I'm going to put it right in here, the need to reorder. And we get a yes. Now we can look at this first. Anytime I do a conditional statement, I do the first cell and I take a look to see, is this right? Is it correct? Does it make sense? And yeah, we're good to go. Okay. So now since we've used good practices or best practices in terms of cell referencing, then it's just a drag and drop issue. And let's check the logic of it to make sure we're right. Let's come down to, let's look at the no's. Because once we've looked at the no's, then we know the yeses are correct. The first no is the large bolts. Yeah, we've got 96,000 of them. That's more than 15,000. Same story on the stud anchors, okay? And the chrome snaps. Yeah, no, that's correct. And then we come down to the very last one and we have the brushes, and that's the same story. Now I'm going to come back over here for just a second because it looks like in column B I need to lengthen it out just a bit to get, yeah, there we go. Now, take your cursor once you've done that, and let's put the yes and no's in the middle, okay? And now we're going to do something to add some visual acuity to this. Now, this is easy to work with because I've got what? 10, 11 records. But if I have hundreds of them, I want something that hits my eyeball, boom, just like that. So I'm gonna start here at I11, and I'm gonna come all the way down to I22, and then I'm gonna come up to the conditional formatting, okay? And I'm gonna come over here to the cell rules, highlight cell rules, okay? And I'm going to click on text that contains. And if it says yes, it will show up light red with dark red text. Okay? So this alerts me that yes, I need to reorder. Otherwise, yeah, we're good. And again, this is just one of those things to help us with a little bit with our visual acuity on this. Let's do a little bit now for a moment just to make this table look nice. So put your cursor on A9 and come all the way across over to J9, okay? And then let's come and make that a nice blue top for the table. And then come down to row 23 and 24, and let's highlight 23 and 24. And we're going to use that same blue. And again, the whole idea here is watch my cursor. You'll look up here. The end user will look up here, see what's the tile. They might look over here. They'll come here, and then and this is like, oh, okay. And there's the data and the output area. Okay. So far, we've got, this is not too bad. And now let's do this on G3, above those two, let's put assumptions. So it's very clear, and we'll bold that up. Let's make that an 18. So now I see the assumptions, and then I see everything laid out. The only other one final thing I can do is this: is put your cursor on cell A11, okay? And let's come all the way over here to J22, and then let's put all borders, okay? And that makes it much easier to read. It divides everything off, okay? And we're good, in good shape. Now comes the final piece of this, and this is the reorder quantity using the EOQ, okay? And we're going to do that. And so I'm going to start with this equal. Pardon me. I'm going to get them down in a second. Equal if parenthesis. And this is the balance available, so we need the balance available. And I'm going to start at H11, okay? $ H11, okay? And is less than $G11, okay? And then comma. Then we'll put SQRT, that's square root. I'll move this over here a little bit. Square root, and then we'll put a parenthesis, and it'll be 2 times, and that's going to be 2 times the fixed cost of ordering, which would be H4. I'll put $H, $4. Okay, it's 2 times the fixed cost of ordering. And let's see, I want right before I have the square root 2 times. All right, here at H4, that's the fixed cost of ordering. I want to put another parenthesis. So I'll stop for a second. You should have equal if $H11 is less than $G11, comma, square root. We're invoking this, we're going to do the square root, and then parenthesis 2 times, and then another parenthesis, which is H4, the fixed cost of ordering, okay? And that's going to be times the annual usage, and the annual usage is going to be $E11. Pardon me, F11. Make sure I'm right there. Yep. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis, and then a divisor, then a division sign, and then another parenthesis, and that will be a carrying cost, and that's going to be $sign H5, $sign H, $sign 5, excuse me, okay, times, okay, it'll be times, and the unit cost here is going to be $sign F11. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis, then a comma, then 0, okay, and then a parenthesis. Now, before I put this in here, let's talk about what we've done. And this will give you a chance, if you're following along, to kind of get caught up. Equal if H11, okay? What's in H11? That's the balance available. And I used put a $sign in front of H because I'm working through column H. Okay, I'm working down through the rows in column H. Is less than G11. I have a $sign in front of G, obviously, because I'm working down column G. So I'm saying is the balance available, that's H11, is less than G11, which is the order point. Comma, that says to the machine, continue on. I'm going to compute the square root, and then I put a parenthesis of 2 times, and then inside the parentheses I have H4, okay, as an absolute cell reference, and that H4 refers to that fixed cost of ordering, times $sign F11, okay, because that's the annual usage, okay, F11 is the annual usage, and then I close that off with a parenthesis, that's the numerator, and then in the denominator, I have the $sign H, $sign 5, okay, times, and that $sign H, $sign 5 is the item carrying cost as a percent. Then I have $sign F11, and F11 is okay, I want the unit cost. So on H5 times the unit cost, which would be E11. My apologies. This is why I wanted to check myself before I started. So E11 is the unit cost. F11 is the annual usage. So I should be good here. And then I close the parenthesis. Then I have a comma, then a 0. 0 is the default value here. So let's see if I did it right. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board and rework it. I think we're in good shape. Okay. Now I put it right here in cell J. I'm going to control, and then I'm going to paste it in. Okay. And I'll enter it. Okay. And I should be good to go. What am I getting here? Huh? Wait just a minute. I am really getting put through the paces of this business today. Hang on, folks. All right. I know what I did. Let's just delete everything out of there, and I guess I'm going to have to put it in the formula bar. All right, Control V in the formula bar. Boom. You entered too many arguments. It's fine. So you get a. All right. We can all have our failings, and one of those today is mine working this out. All right, now I've got. All right, let me see what I got going on here. If there's, okay, there's 1, 2, 3 facing to the right. I've got 1, 2, 3 facing to the left. Let me try one more here and see if this will do it. If not, I'm going to start over. No need to get panicky. No. You see, even the professor can struggle with this junk. All right, I'll pack that in there and let's see what we get. There are too many arguments for the function. All right, hang on here just a second. All right, let's just start over. Equal if, parenthesis, and I want the balance available, and the balance available is going to be $H11, that's the balance available, okay, is less than the order point, and the order point is going to be $G11, okay? So to make sure we're right, balance available, okay, is less than G11, the balance is, okay, then we'll put comma, and then we'll do square root SQRT, okay, and then a parenthesis, and then we'll put 2 times, okay, and then we're going to put another parenthesis, and that's going to be the fixed cost of ordering, and in that case, it's going to be H, $H, $4, okay, times, and H4 is the fixed cost of ordering, so we're good there. So I take, needed 2. Okay, so I've got that in front of the parenthesis, H4, and then I've got the annual usage, which is going to be $F, that's the annual usage. Okay, and then we'll divide that by parenthesis, the carrying cost, which is going to be $H, $5, okay, times the unit cost, which is going to be $E, and then 11. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis, a comma, a 0, and 2 parentheses. And let's see what happens here. I think we're in good shape because I had, okay, let me see. I've got this is, maybe I need to do this. I think maybe that was the problem. Let's try that. Copy this. Okay. I'm going to come back up in this one area here. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's wanting me to insert the function, and that's, I'm sorry, folks. This is giving me fits still. I don't know why. Okay, let me separate the square root part up from a bit. Let's see if that'll work. This is one of the deals sometimes you run into with these, and it's giving me some issues as far as me wanting to use the square root function to just pop it in. No, that's not going to do it. Shoo. Let's see what we've got here. Equal if HA. Okay, let's make sure the cell referencing. Sometimes I have to troubleshoot. Now I've got one that I've solved. So if I have to, we'll close this off and go to the files and show you one that's solved. I don't know why I'm running into this. Okay, H11 is less than G11. H11 is the balance available. G11 is the balance, is the order point. And if it's less than that, then we compute the square root. Okay, yeah, I get that, the order points. Thank you, the square root and then 2 times, and we got the fixed cost times the annual usage, and the fixed cost is H4, and the annual usage is $F. There's a problem. And it's going to be the fixed cost on the annual usage, and I might want to try using $F11. Okay, and then I've got H5 times $E11. Now let's see if this will do it. Before I mess with that up, make sure it's empty there. Okay, now let's try this. Whoa. I don't understand why I'm getting this, because I know this is right. Let me click up here, put it in the formula bar, and boom. Well, it's apparently wanting me to insert a function in there. I'm not sure why I'm getting this junk right here. Because I know what I've got here is correct. Let's do this. I'm going to diminish this down for just a moment and diminish your file down, okay? And let's go over here, and I think I have one here called XLS7 BISS or something to that effect. Here it is, hardware nuts done. All right, here's the file. Come down to XLS7, go into the files part of Canvas, and go and take a look at XLS7 hardware nuts done September 8th, 2017. Let's look at that. Let's download it. I don't know why I'm getting this weirdness, okay? Now, this is not too bad, so if you wanted to and it's published, you can upload it. But we've done everything else at the exception of this. We've done the reorder, but let me go ahead then, and I want to kind of resize this up a little bit. And let's look at the economic order quantity, because it's the same data. And let me take that, and I'm going to copy that. And I apologize about this, guys. I'm getting some weirdness on that. I don't know what that was all about. So the one I've got open now is the one you want to upload. All right. Here we had H14. Let's make sure H14 was the balance available. Okay. G14, okay, is the order point. I'm looking at this second one right here. And then we do the square root of 2 times D9. And D9 is, let's find D9, which is the carrying cost. Okay. And then we have, say, got everything there. In fact, what I'll do is, since we got these up here, I'm going to diminish this down. Okay. And you'll see G14, okay, H14 down here, all right, is our unit cost, okay? And the, I'm going to go back that file I had open. No, H11, yeah, I was doing those correctly. That's strange. But anyway, here it is. The LQ, H14, I'm just going to walk you through this, and I've got this up here for you. And I apologize about some of this weirdness. H14 is, if you look up here, H14 is going to be the balance available, okay? G14 is the order point, okay? And then we do the square root of 2 times, and in this case, D9 was the fixed cost of ordering times F14, and in this case, F14 was the annual usage, okay? and that's closed off with a parenthesis. And then I come here, I'm going to divide it by D8, which is the item carrying cost, times E14. And E14 is the unit cost. And then I have two parentheses and a 0. Now, why I ran into this weirdness up here, because I know that's right the same, but I wanted to let you see it anyway, okay? And now, and we've basically done everything except this. So this file that's called LXS7 hardware, and that's done September 8, 2017. Download it for yourself and upload it. But that's, I don't know what I was having or doing there. Probably a lot of it just a bad day. But basically what we've done is we've computed the economic order quantity, okay? We've figured out, okay, if I need to reorder, what do I do? Okay? And I have a way that triggers the reorder, and I have another conditional statement here. And I'm going to take that one and copy and paste it onto the notepad so you can see it. And it's equal if H14, and in this case H14 is less than G14. So H14 is the balance available, is less than G14, the order point, then comma, then we get yes, then comma, no. And that's just the same thing we did up here in that other spreadsheet, just different rows. And so we have that reorder point. Now, at this stage of the game, you know, we have about everything that we would need in terms of the inventory report. It tells us how much we've got, etc. The one thing we don't have that we might want to have would be the total value of inventory, okay, on hand. And you know what that would simply be is we would take this total dollar value of inventory. Okay, and I'm gonna see I make that a little bit. No, put there. Okay, now I'll squinch this out a bit. Now I'm going to take the total dollar of inventory and make that a lot easier to see and a lot bigger. And it would become just simply a matter of taking the amount on the unit cost, okay, times the amount on hand. So it's just, in this case, it's just going to equal, and we'll come down here, work in the notepad, equal, and that's going to be the unit cost, which is going to be, in this case, it's going to be E14, so it'll be $E14, okay, times, and then we've got the unit cost times the on hand, and that's going to be $C14. E14. Now you could say, well, why couldn't I use the name manager? And I've tried using the name manager with drag and drop, and I've had some success and some spottiness like I've ran into here. And so I just say, usually with this one, I just go ahead and put it in. If I've got the cells I can drag and drop, I'm good to go there. So I'm looking at equals E14, okay? And that's E14 is going to be $E, and that's going to be the unit cost. 14 is the row it's on. Same thing times C14 on hand. And I can go ahead and let's put that into the formula bar. Okay, look over here. Oh, this is weird. I'm not being able to cut and paste stuff in there. It's just so strange. What am I getting this weirdness? Oh, let's try entering it like this. It's not letting me cut and paste that in there, is it? Okay. Let's just do it like this. cost times on hand. And I'm going to put parenthesis a $sign in front of the E. It's being persnickety with me today for some reason. And there we are. And then we can just scroll on down till we, with each of the inventory amounts. Okay. Now, if I wanted to just do this, I can get this, I can use the sum function, and that's probably going to, and just use the sum function and multiply the two of them. Doesn't matter if you want to embellish this just a little bit. But the main thing is what we've done is we've created the economic order quantity, and then we've got a Q for us visually on whether or not we want to see whether a Q visually that tells us, yeah, it's time to reorder, and so we know how much to reorder. Now, the one thing I would do with this, okay, if I was going to do it over, would be to take reorder and put it in front of balance available. Okay, and I think I did that in this disaster that we had today with this silly thing. Yeah, I did. And so the bottom line is, if it works, those are the two columns here that make it a little bit sketchy in terms of what I want to do. But I do know, okay, for example, how much I do know if I need to reorder or not, and then how much. Now, there's one final piece of this, and I want to talk about it, and it's timing, okay? You say, what do you mean? When we are dealing with inventory, okay, we want to assume that this order point, okay, that the order point is going to cover us. So you say, okay, what do you mean? Well, let's go up and go to cell I8, okay, and let's do this. Let's take and have this equal, okay, and annual usage, okay, and we're going to divide that by 14, okay. Now, that's going to tell us, okay, if we take that and divide that by, we're going to take that and divide it by 14, that's F4, okay, and F14, and I divide it by 14. So I want to know how much do I have, how many days have I got. Here in the text it says sometimes people, there's usually a lead time, okay, this is the middle, near the bottom, page 68. They talk about the lead time, a period, for example, 2 weeks. So I would want to figure out how much of this stuff do I use a day. Okay, so if I want to know that, I'm just going to go ahead and I could put a little thing called daily usage. All right, and then and I could do a daily usage column for everything over here. I'm just going to take the carriage bolts. And I'm going to take the annual usage, which is, and I'm going to do this. It equals annual usage, F14, okay, divided by, and I'm going to put divided by the order point, and let's see what they get, okay. Now, the order point is basically 10 days, okay, of inventory. Here in the case, they say they like to have a lead time, all right, of 14 days. I know I have lead time of 10 days. How do I know? Because I took the annual usage and divided it by the order point, and that's 10 days. Okay. Now, if you use that same formula and you go for any one of these, you're going to get some varying days. So you're going to have to, you would want to, if you cared to come over and put a daily usage, okay, and how that translates out. Because as it stands now, if you want to have 2 weeks worth, 2 weeks of inventory on hand, then as far as the carriage bolts go, you don't. You've only got 10 days on hand. Okay, so you need to do one of two things. Well, the one thing, what you'll need to do is re-up the order point, okay? And you could do that easily by just simply taking the annual usage, and I'm working with the carriage bolts, and take that times 0.1, no, blah, 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 blah. Let's see, what would be 14 days. I want to divide that by 0.07. Let's see if that works. I think it probably will. Because that's close to, it's a 14-day interval. No, wait a minute. Okay, let's assume for just a second, because this is a little trickier one of the order point. I want more than 10 days. That's simple, okay? I've got the 10 days there. So I'm going to take, if 10 days is 115, if 10 days is 11,500, okay, then I'm going to basically take that and take that times another 4. To get that 14 days. So I would need to order quite a bit more. I need another this one. Yeah. I'm doing a little exploring here at this. Let's see, I want the order point. Okay, I got that 10 days. Okay, I'm dead easy. I've got 10 days there. So we want to take 14 days. We'll just do this. It's 14 over 10, which I figure would be 1.4. So I want to take the order point, okay, and it's going to equal, and we're going to take that times, and I want the daily usage times 1.4. And now that's going to get us down to 7 days. Well, I have to work on that one, think about it, but I want to just add 4 more days on here. Now I could take the annual usage. The easiest way to do this is just take the annual usage, divide it by some number that you're working. Now they're talking about 14 days, and if you said, okay, we assume they work, there's 356 days, assume there's about 20 days off, so the annual usage in terms of days is going to come down to this. It's going to be 115,000, okay? Okay, divided by, and we have about 365 minus 20 is, we just call it 340 days of working. We'll just say that. We're going to divide that by 340, we get the daily usage. Okay. And does this equal? Okay. Divided by 340. And there it is. We get 338 days. We use 338 units because we don't work all 365 days. So we're assuming basically we're working 340 days. And once we've got that daily number, now we can take it times 14. So this will be equal times 14. And then we'd have a much better figure, okay, that we've got what we would want to add on there. Now, as you're going to come down here, you'll see each of these, as you work through these annual usage and you divide them out by the number of days, okay, you're going to see that the order points look a little bit different. And again, those are some things you can do to embellish it, to figure out, improve this, How much do we need? Do we have enough in terms of the order point? If we say we have to have 2 weeks for everything. Now, it may be that these order points, okay, and this is just part of the realistic part of all of this, was we may have different vendors who have different amounts of time it takes them to get stuff to us. Okay, but now we could see, right now, again, we've worked through. We got the balance available, and that was the amount on hand plus what we've ordered. Okay, then we figure out, do we need we computed the economic order quantity. The economic order quantity is right there in the middle of page 68. And all you see in here in this formula are the cells represented. And it's the 2 times. Well, first of all, we have a nested conditional statement. And I'll just pop it back up here and explain it again, put some English to it. Okay? If G14, and that's what was in the order point, is H14, the balance available, and what we have there in balance. If it's less than the order point, then we order, and we use the EOQ, the square root, 2 times, and D9, of course, is the fixed cost of ordering, times F14, and F14 was the annual usage. And then we divide that by D8, and D8 is that carrying cost, and E4, okay, is the unit cost. And if we don't have, if it doesn't meet that condition, in other words, if H4 is larger than or equal to G14, then we get a 0. And then we added in this, use some conditional for. Well, we used some Boolean logic here. If H14 is less than G14, yes. Otherwise, no. And then we used some coloration here using the conditional formatting. That's pretty much it. Now, let me say, and before I'm going to close this down for just a minute, I have some resources for you out there and that cover the economic order quantity, because you will be having a quiz over it. So let me pop down on the modules section, okay? I think I have a break-even and EOQ a quiz for you, and we've done break-even. That was case number 6. Here it is, the break-even and the EOQ. The break-even is going to be based on drawn from case 6 plus other materials I've got here at Canvas and then at the website, and the EOQ part is from chapter 7, the hardware nuts case. Excuse me. And what you'll want to do is, of course, look at that chapter, and then I have some other resources for you. The other resources are going to either be up here in this welcome area. We have all these links to stuff, okay? Or it's going to be over, okay, in the supplement, and I know there's some stuff in the supplemental website. Okay, and so we should be able to good to go. And I've only seen one person, that's me, so I'm wondering if people have been knocked out or why. I'll probably be getting a bunch of emails. Anyway, you can see there's an economic order quantity. There's in the supplemental materials section, there's a PowerPoint on EOQ. Thank you very much for the time. I'm going to stop the share and end the meeting. We started a little bit early, and I'm going to make sure I can get a recording of it pretty fast in the event people got kind of knocked out of this. Thanks much.